Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with episode 3 of my very in the early goings, ongoing X-Files run. Not season 3 yet. Episode 3, Squeeze. First airs September 24th, 1993. Of course, man, we've just barely dented this first box. But this episode's interesting for a few reasons. And by the way, you don't see anything up there because apparently my TV just crashed, so that makes it a little awkward. So I'm kind of feeling squeezed by this. All right, so episode 3, Squeeze, directed by Harry Longstreet. Really didn't do a lot. Did some TV. But this does have the notoriety of being the first of, 3 Monster of the Week where the monster comes back multiple times. So, Tooms here in Squeezed will come back in episode 21 for Tooms, which we'll see the grand entrance of Skinner. Very much looking forward to getting to that point. It's a ways down the road, but how does Skinner only have 1 episode in season 1? So weird. Then the guy who plays Eugene Victor Tooms himself, Doug Hutchison, man, he's been in a lot, man. I mean, I just grabbed a few. The Lawnmower Man, Con Air, Green Mile. I don't remember him in that. Burrs. Another little Easter egg here. Tom Braidwood, who is Frohike, one of the 3 lone gunmen. He was the first assistant director on this episode, which is really interesting. Bartley's back to shoot this episode, and So what do we got here? Squeezed. Basically, you have some murders are starting to happen, and Agent Colton of the FBI, who is assigned to this, is just stuck. He has no idea. I mean, the victims are not related in any way, but what really is curious is a lack of entrance. They cannot figure out how the killer has gotten in, and so he reaches out to Scully. They knew each other, I think, back in the academy days, and but he's a little weary because he knows the reputation of spooky Mulder, and doesn't really want Mulder anywhere near this case. But it's kind of hard not to get Mulder near the case for 2 reasons. One, Scully has already sort of gotten attached to him, and Mulder already sees this is this sort of falls line, sink line, and whatever. And with an older X-File that sort of dates back, I want to say back to 63 previously to 33. You have these murders been happening every 30 years. And I can't remember exactly how he lays out his theory initially, but ultimately Mulder suspects that you're dealing with someone who ages very slowly and has a genetic mutation of being able to squeeze into certain tight areas, and getting into places that otherwise it looks like no one's gotten into. It just looks like it just happened. And so he already sees this case for what it really is, and once he actually gets on site, that's going to create a lot of tension between Colton, who sees this as a means of just a stepping stone to get, a careerism, to get up to the next spot. And he does not want Mulder pulling the carpet out from under him. And so there's this tension, this tug of war between Scully, who is already feeling more and more attached to Mulder, and of course, if she wants to make any headway, in terms of the politics of her career, sticking it out with Mulder probably isn't the smartest thing to do, but is it the right thing to do? And so that is like a real interesting tension throughout this episode. And by the end, obviously, Scully will hedge her bets with Mulder. And I don't think any of us have any regrets about that. So our monster Eugene Victor Tooms has been around for quite a while. I think they actually go back to 1903, if I remember right. And so he's kind of been at this a while. And ultimately, they will, there is another agent who is long since, I think he was an agent, or maybe he was just on the police force at the time, who was investigating the murders. But he has long since retired. But they catch up with him, the agents do, Mulder and Scully, and he is able to shed a little bit of light as well in terms of his connection to the case. And so between Mulder's own digging deep and the conversation with this other guy, they ascertain the original living place of Eugene. And ultimately what they find there is a nest of sorts. And so it's sort of, for Scully, she's trying to get her mind wrapped around this idea of who is this guy. But Mulder, being already firmly neck deep in the X-Files, already has his, he's already, none of this really surprises him, I don't think. Initially, Tooms is arrested. They do actually catch him because Scully has a theory that some killers will come back to the scene of their own crime. Mulder doesn't really buy it, but they put a stake out anyways. And turns out in this particular case, Scully is right. And as a result, for whatever reason, Tooms does come back. And so they are able to apprehend him. But when he's arrested, he does a polygraph test, in which case he basically aces it hands down. Although the couple questions that Mulder throws out there, like, are you 100 years old? Type Mulder-esque questions. He fails miserably on, but nobody seems to care because they're outrageous questions. And surely this guy who looks no older than 30, maybe even younger, he's not 100 years old, and surely he can't, make his hands, grow out, to here and fit in ventilation shafts and all that wonderful stuff. There's even a kill. There's a kill where he actually climbs down the chimney, and so he is able to do some incredible things. So you had the Agent Fuller. I'm trying to remember which one Agent Fuller was, but I remember I saw it in my notes there. He was actually he played a role in Shark Night. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen that. But and so really the episode really does revolve around a very, very old X-File that resurfaces as a result of these murders, and Agent Colton tugging on the sleeve of Scully to come in and give a help. Ultimately, in the end, it will be Mulder and Scully who will figure things out, and in the end, as a result of Tooms going after Scully, we'll have we'll have the first of many instances where Mulder will come, or Scully will come at the last second and save the day for the other. The movie I Want to Believe, this may be one of the really great moments in that movie, is in the end when Scully is able to save Mulder, and she's kind of just holding him in her arms, and it's now it's not even her, actually it's Skinner, I think, who's holding him. And it's just such a great throwback back to just the heart and soul of the X-Files. Some of these characters will really mean an awful lot to one another, whether it's Scully to Mulder, Mulder to Scully, or even Skinner, when Mulder and Scully aren't wanting to rip open his throat for whatever reason. And so really, in a nutshell, really this is the episode, man. The entrance of Eugene Victor Tooms, who will he's going to try to escape from where they have him in a sanitarium where they have him held up, but in Tooms we'll see dude's just let out. And that's a great episode, man. It's gonna be great when we finally get there, but we got a long road to get to before we get to Tooms. But how great is it that this show, not once but like 3 times, and then throughout the case of the mythology, will revisit things, revisit characters, It's, I think, just part of what made this show so great. So great. So I think really there's not much more to say to this. It's a great episode, first Monster of the Week episode, and I'm not even sure, without looking and without the TV on, I don't even know what's next, but I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll get this thing fixed. So until then, man, remember, the X-Files lives on Wednesdays continually, as long as with my Body Bags reviews that will be dropped. The other stuff Sundays. Anyways, we always end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.